Hello again, and welcome to American Movie Classics. I'm Bob Dorian. This is Monday, and if you have a sense of adventure, we invite you to join us for a very exciting double feature. I think you'll like both of these. First, Orson Welles is at his menacing best as the great pirate Long John Silver in Robert Louis Stevenson's classic Treasure Island. Kim Burfield and Walter Slezak co-star in this one. Next, Boris Karloff and Jason Robart Sr. star in Val Lewton's horror thriller Isle of the Dead, about a group of tourists trapped on a remote Greek island. Now, the answer to yesterday's movie question, we always like to do this before we go any further. I know people are just waiting on the edge of their seats. Can you name the screen and stage star who was born Margaret Alexis Fitzsimmons? Well, that talented beauty, labeled by Warner Brothers Publicity as the Dynamite Girl, was Alexis Smith, who is still going strong as a performer with star status. I'll have another question for you later, and I'll be back to tell you more about our first feature right after we see this. Now it's time for our feature presentation. This is what I might have called some years ago an Orson Welles movie, but it's a very special Orson Welles movie. Orson Welles loved the character of Long John Silver. The first time he played old Long John was back in the year 1938 when he wrote an adaptation of Treasure Island for a radio series that he produced. He was pretty big in radio in those days. He also directed it and starred in it, which was typical Orson Welles technique. He also began dreaming of making the definitive film version of the American classic. After he saw the Walt Disney version in 1950, he decided to go ahead and make his Treasure Island. Well, he wrote the script and he arranged financial backing, and then he began to film the epic in Spain. A short time later, unfortunately, he ran out of money and the project was never completed. But it didn't mean that he had let it out of his mind. In the early 1970s, British producer Harry Towers began work on yet another adaptation of this story, Treasure Island. He looked upon the Stevenson novel not merely as a children's book, but as a horror story for adults as well. To emphasize the horror aspects of this story, he considered casting Vincent Price at first, or maybe Christopher Plummer, but then he thought of Orson Welles. When he approached Orson about playing Long John Silver, Orson Welles agreed with the stipulation that he be allowed to rewrite all of his own dialogue. Orson Welles purposefully made all Long John's mutterings in this movie unintelligible. So as you watch this movie, don't strain to try to understand his words. Just sit back and kind of enjoy the effect, and it's pretty effective. Sometimes it really gets you on the edge of the seat because you say, what did he say, what did he say? Well, he probably didn't say too much. Welles loved playing this old pirate, but he had a lot of trouble with that peg leg that you're going to see him wear. No matter how they rigged this leg, he could barely move when he was wearing it. So you're going to notice that whenever he does move, he's usually hidden or obscured behind trees or bushes or fences or people or something. Here is Orson Welles in a classic presentation of Treasure Island.